right. I think it's recording. Should be up and going. Honestly, sometimes I actually don't find out until after the whole thing is done. New week. New Congress under the way. If not the news, then what? Do you even bother reading newspapers anymore? Bit of success with Chinese reading, Physio, so no double workouts, Delta progress, and a little bit of a spacey track to start your week. Folks, Monday, October 17th, 2022. I'm Steven Sarsky. Hope you guys are doing well. This here is my daily audio digest. I publish it Monday to Friday, and it's about the things that are going on here in Beijing, China, which is where I live, and some of the things that keep me entertained and other people's entertained along the way. I was thinking, since I've started a Substack newsletter, I haven't really published. I was thinking actually of only using the Substack newsletter for like a monthly roundup sort of thing. Then I got thinking, well, wait a minute. What if I published this audio blog on Substack and just made it, part of the regular features sort of thing? Because Substack will do newsletter and audio, and apparently even I've applied for the video beta as well, so I could do video streaming. Sorry, not video streaming. I can upload a video as well, so it'd be all inclusive in the newsletter, and that way, with that, I could. What could I do? Well, there's a few things I was thinking that I could do with it. Number one, I'd have another record of this, right? So that's number one. Number two, I could have all 5 episodes, like I could have everything posted in one place, archived, ready to go, rather than waiting for my website to update sort of thing, because I manually have to update my website, whereas Substack would do it automatically. And number 3, I could then do a very easy copy and paste review newsletter at the end of the week. And again, this almost gets kind of into like spammy territory. I didn't want to do it every day. That was sort of the idea, was that with Substack it'd be a once every now and then. Here are the highlights and that's it. But I'm starting to think, if I'm doing this every day, I'm publishing this to Anchor.fm. I try to spit it out to Twitter, although today it might not get there because of certain connection problems. Also onto Instagram, and then also I broadcast live onto YouTube as well. Could I do all 4? I mean, why not, right? I mean, I guess it's an idea. I'm not against it. It is another thing to sort of do at night, which seems odd to say, but it's just, it's one more thing I got to get done. And I guess, as it's been put to me before, if you had the choice of working your job for another 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, or spending 8 hours or 16 hours a day, that could build up to replace your job in 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, would you do it? I guess I'm in the time of my life where I'm like, yeah, I would, because that's what I'm doing. I made a list of all the different types of not newsletters, but projects that I'm working on. I've got 6 going across this sheet of paper right now. Now, one of them, my website, sort of is like an all-inclusive sort of thing. It's where I post a lot. It's sort of like a major archive altogether. But I've got 5 others, including this audio blog, the big podcast, the language vlog, these month-long projects that I do, and now this newsletter, thinking that if it's going to be the same thing or different, I mean, it gets to be quite a bit that, would be nice to sort of have a little bit more organized. At the same time, how can I organize it a little bit better? The other thing about doing this newsletter, because I was looking at automation again. I'll tell you, again, this goes into like, if you're going to spend 8 hours a day working on something that in 2 years could pay off, I am still trying to automate a lot of the stuff that I do on the back end, because it's not worth employing someone to do that work for me, because even though it would save me time, what else would I be doing with my time? Yes, there's a lot of things I could do, but given the fact that it's not hard to do, it's just tedious, and there has to be a way for me to be able to automate it because websites are built on this type of automation, right? So that's what I'm kind of going for with that one. In terms of like in a year, I would like to have a lot of the workflow automated, so I can drag and drop to my my computer, drop it into a folder. I've got the image compression and resizing automated. The next thing I'd want to automate is uploading to my website. So that's two parts. If I were to, and all it is that you compress, you resize, you crunch, as I call it, whatever, optimize, I guess you would say, for web. Then that spits into another folder that opens up a web page that then takes whatever's in that folder and uploads it to your website. Now, this is not new, and I'm not giving hackers any sort of secrets here because they do this all the time. I mean, your Trojan horses, same thing. I mean, your any sort of web exploit, same idea. All I'm trying to do is make it work for my business, my work, my website, my audio blog, so I can spend less time updating it. 3-4 hours, 2 hours a weekend updating it, and just having that stuff automatically post to my website if I can. That's what I'm working on. So in a year's time, do I think I can automate my workflow a little bit better? I was also looking at some AI video editors, and I realize now that iMovie on my iPad can actually create clips, like highlight reels. I'm like, really? It just takes 5 seconds of whatever clip you put into it. I'm like, well, just copy all that stuff there and let the program deal with it. Why do I have to deal with it, sort of thing, right? I know there's a certain artistry and everything, and there's color grading too, which is more of an artistic eye. Color grading or color correction is when you take a video clip and you drop it into your, I call them an NLE, but I don't think anyone calls them NLEs anymore because no one does online editing. Non-linear editing, so it means that you can basically, you're not destroying anything. It's non-destructive. If you edit a clip, you're not touching the original clip. You're touching a copy of that clip. This goes back to like 25 years ago, 23 years ago at least, like 1999, 1998, when they were still cutting film or tape on a deck, like a Steinbeck or something like that, where they would use those to, that was destructive editing. So if you made a clip, an edit, you were actually cutting the tape or the film. Likewise, even with news, if you didn't digitize it prior to editing, and this is why like Final Cut and Premiere Pro or Premiere, whatever it was back then, Adobe Premiere was so big at the time, was because you could then telecine, which is like telecine is the process of transferring film or videotape into film into the digital format, so then you can edit it in a digital video editor. This changed things because you could all of a sudden make a mistake and undo. Control Z, Command Z. I mean, a huge benefit to video editors and creatives and workers around the world, sort of thing. Same with Command S or Control S. Making sure that you save your work as you go along as well, not just autosave, but making sure you've manually saved as well. So that's where all this kind of goes to, and the idea being that if I could automate a lot of that, wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be great? Step by step, we'll get there. I know. Sorry if you ever thought you wanted to work for me. The window is closing because I'm trying to automate you, just like my company's trying to automate me. I guess what goes around comes around. It's just it's the nature of it. If we're not getting better and more efficient, then we're falling behind, aren't we? And this is actually, I was talking to another guy today about ESL industry, reskilling and stuff like that. And he was sort of the opinion, he's like, the ESL industry is dying. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to hasten its death. I'm not going to lie, because I am of the crowd that believes, thinks and believes, and I'm striving for the day where I don't have to sit there and teach someone how to pronounce certain words, or ask the same question over and over again and patiently respond when someone doesn't get it the first time or the second time or the third time, right? Or if they know what to expect, and if I have to say it, but they respond as if they're like, "Oh, this is such a new question. What do you mean, sir?" I'm like, "You know what I mean, because you know what this is. You can't sit there and say you don't know this textbook. You know this textbook. Everybody else in the room knows this textbook. Don't sit there and tell me you don't know what this textbook is." That sort of response. Having that patience, having that computer-like patience of being able to deal with that situation, with that emotion, and instead, so moving beyond that, and don't get me wrong, this isn't just for English teaching. This is for all language acquisition. We're talking Duolingo. There's some pronunciation programs out there like Elsa Speak is the same thing. That gets into a lot of speech pathology, but that should be all consolidated. It should be made into an AI program. Forget AI. It should be made into an app, that a comprehensive app that is able to hear what you say, identify the wavelengths, depending on your English from around your global English, or a standard type of English as well. I mean, you can measure against two, accent or, what would you say, dialect or non-dialect, standard or non-standard, whichever, take your pick, and measure up the wavelengths. So if you want an American pronunciation, how would it guide you? British pronunciation, how would it guide you? Australian, the beautiful Canadian pronunciation, how would it guide you? How do you do it? Would it give you any instructions on any sort of mouth movements or placements and stuff like that? That is where I see the future of English language, the future of language teaching. Isn't this whole like, speak from day one, you're in charge. It's not only are you in charge, but don't bother getting a teacher until you've at least done a year's worth of work with an intensive program that teaches you, that takes all of the basic knowledge and all the fundamentals of a language and enables you to test it on your own. Like that, your first and second year of language acquisition will be with a computer. It will be with your cell phone. It will be with an application that you can carry around with you that will remind you of when you have class, and you'll have to book off that class either because it blocks yourself from doing anything else at that time, or because you're that self-disciplined. That's the future of language teaching, at least as far as I can tell. Oh, wow, what a digression. There you go. And I'll tell you how I really feel. The Congress here in China has kicked off the Dahui, I think it is, a big meeting. And so this is where I don't think he's been reelected just yet. I think that's coming up shortly. I'm not sure when the elections actually happen. He did kick it all off yesterday, Xi Jinping, that is, yesterday on October 16th, Sunday. They started on a Sunday for some reason. 3.5 hour speech. I have not listened to it, but I did buy newspapers from Friday, Sunday, and then today's as well. I wanted the picture of Xi Jinping at the table, so I got that as well. I was actually reading the Global Times because the idea was actually to do a little bit of a bit of a special for this audio blog, to sort of go through some of the articles that are not just published in Global Times, but published in newspapers in general. I still read newspapers from time to time. I like to buy a copy and sit down and read it. It's one of the old world habits that I have, I guess. And but I don't. I appreciate that a lot of people wouldn't do it. I also appreciate that. Why would you keep those things? Like, I want to keep this, a sort of posterity, but I given the fact that I want to build an automated program so I can travel around the world and pay for it as I go, where the hell am I going to keep newspapers, right? I mean, it's like, what are you going to do with all this stuff? I mean, it's either going in the garbage, the massive collection, the massive museum collection that's known as the garbage dump or recycling heap, whatever, or it's going to be gifted, or it's one of those two, or it's going to go into storage and then get eaten by rats, right? How sober of a an assessment is that? Aya Maya. All right, so not sure when the voting results will be. Actually, I'm not even sure when the vote's going to happen to if he secures a third term. All I know is that it was smoggy up until Saturday, so that was sort of a bit of a question mark. But today the stock market did rally again, so that sort of gives an indication at least which way things could move. Been having a little bit more success with Chinese reading as of late. I've been focusing in the morning. I've been trying to spend 20 minutes a day going over my characters. I find I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I can't do it just the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday anymore. I gotta spend 20 minutes every day. I was looking at my Chinese textbooks, and I was doing some calculations yesterday. I was like, well, what if? Because I have another, 18 chapters in my HSK 5 SSAB book, so the second book. I'm looking at this going, and plus the workbook stuff as well. I'm like, that's like 36 chapters of intense listening stuff. Going, that's probably 6 hours a day if I, actually look at it properly, and then plus the practice tests, which I have one book, 2 books of those, plus the HSK 5 test preparation book. That's another. I'm like, oh my goodness, when do I have to? So of course I count the weeks. Like if I did one a week, which is like optimistic to tell you the truth, to say the least. One a week would finish at middle of February. Then I'm like, well, what if I was super optimistic? 2 a week, I could be done by mid-December. What if I did 3 a week? If the sad reality is, let's put it this way: if those books have been sitting there for that long and you haven't looked at them, now there's a couple things. I have been study fatigued. Not gonna lie, that was a real thing. I'm sick and tired of studying. But not just studying Chinese language, studying in general. Just hated doing it. That's why I actually kind of like doing the Delta as it is right now, because it is all in English. Okay, although it's ESL terminology, education terminology, language learning terminology, it's in English. I can at least get through it without that much struggle. Chinese, it's like every character is just like, it's almost a defeating, humbling moment where you're like, how many more of these am I going to encounter? Oh, lots. The answer is lots, actually. Probably about another 1,800 to tell you the truth. So once you get done with HSK 5, you get to move on to HSK 6. I might time myself, though, to see how fast I can blitzkrieg through HSK 6. I don't know. We'll see. Again, measured on 10 years, 1-2 years isn't a big deal. But measured on, like, I want to be fluent by the time by the time I leave China, if I do leave China within 2 or 3 years, then yeah, 1 year is a long time to spend focusing on just the language, right? And still studying the language, not even fluent in it, still studying the language. But all that being the case, looked at those textbooks, did some calculations. Could I afford 6 hours a day? Could I afford 12 hours? So 6 hours on Monday, 6 hours on Tuesday sort of thing, or on a Saturday. In addition to the Delta, I mean, it's asking a lot of time. It really is, on top of working, quote unquote, full time. Although I'm supposed to be full time, having a lot of days off lately. So this is where things get dangerous, because I'm like, oh, I got time. I could do this. Sometimes heading into November, December, things get a little bit busy. But I mean, the case this weekend, we received word that more places outside of Beijing got shut down. And I hate to laugh, but it's like, really? Still? I see former students in countries that are like Europe and the United States, right? They're traveling. They're not even, they took off and they're not coming back. So, who's the smarter one? The English teacher coming to China, or the Chinese student who bailed on the country, who got out while they still could, sort of thing, right? Yes. Anyway, so Delta is progressing along. Managed to get most of the tutor tasks done and submitted today. We'll do a few more tomorrow morning, and that way that will finish up Unit 6, heading into Unit 7 for the rest of the week. Physio in the afternoon. Did not get my double workout in. Normally I do 2 workouts on Mondays, but had to go to Physio And this, oh, she only spoke Chinese. She understood some of the English that I would say, but it was only in Chinese. So I learned I reinforced the words shen dun, so a deep squat, dun, which is squat, and then what was the other? I learned jin, which is tight, which is the right, the tight muscle. So it's like, yeah, this is a very tight muscle there because my legs and my hamstrings, and although like she's this tiny lady, she was not. She was much more gentle than the last guy. The last guy, it was the last guy would take this percussion gun, turn it on full, and drive it right into my muscle and go, "How's that feel?" I'm like, "Yay!" He's like, "Good. It means it's working." And then he's like, "So, what else do you do? What kind of sports are you carrying on a conversation?" As I'm like basically crying on the table. This lady turned it on like half power, gently pushed it in, and then when I was like, "Okay, you can bang me harder with that one, no problem." She turned it up, and then she ground it in there. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this whole very different approaches to yeah, the guy who's like, "Yeah, I'll just go hard. Well, he'll figure it out," sort of thing. And the lady who was like, "Well, probably shouldn't cause the customer that much pain at the beginning." To be fair, this is the first time I've met her before, so she was probably like, "Let's not break this person," on the first meeting sort of thing. Whereas the guy, he was very gentle the first time. So actually, if I do go back to see this girl again, because they've been very busy lately, so it's not always sure if I'm going to get the same person. And I told him, like, I don't care if it's English or Chinese. I don't care if it's the same person. They should, like, you guys have a record of what I've been going there for, and you should understand, like, that I'm assuming like a physiotherapist will be able to look at that and go, "Oh, he's having this issue. This is what we do for that," sort of thing. Like it's a standard sort of application or therapy sort of thing. So we'll see. Maybe next time she'll be like, "Ah, this guy's a tough guy. Just turn the thing on full and pound him harder." We'll see. She was good though because she was getting me to do a lot of muscle rehab work. So it wasn't just massage that she was doing. It was also like with the resistance bands and stuff like that. And so I was doing that, and it was actually working the opposite leg. So like it's the left side that is a bit tight, and she had me working on the right side as well to help balance out the muscles, I guess. So we'll see. I mean, they've been busy. I don't know why they're so busy, but apparently physiotherapy in Beijing is huge now. Might have something to do with that, like the major sporting events are back on as well. So I'm guessing that they're getting called in to do that as well and help out with people who actually need their bodies for their professions. Whereas I'm just kind of like trying not to be in pain as much so I can flip my kettlebells farther and higher and stronger, sort of thing. All right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. But before I go, I have one little present for you, little treat for you guys today. Yesterday on Sunday, don't know why I was even doing this. I was like, picked up the iPad, opened up GarageBand, and like let's see what comes out. And I was actually quite impressed with what did came out. It's like 2 notes, not gonna lie. It's with the synth, and basically just played around with some of the effects that are available to you. So here it is. I call it the Spacey Sunday Night Synth Track, and it's about 3 minutes long. I think it's very cinematic. Let me know what you think. I enjoyed making it. I was actually surprised and pleasantly surprised by what popped out as a result. Anyway, thanks, folks, for listening. I appreciate it. We will talk again tomorrow. Show notes and tracks up on my website, stevensersky.com. Hope you guys are well and hope you're staying well out there. Get your exercise in. Make sure you do your stretches. You don't want to tighten up and have to go to a physiotherapy and get beaten up by, well, a tiny lady who's like, "This doesn't hurt, does it?" Have a good one, folks. We'll talk again. Bye-bye. And that will do it. Boom shakalaka. Bye.